welcome to another episode of Another Zelda Podcast. I am David Geisler, your co-host today, here today joined by my co-host...
I am Kady Roberts. I was wondering if you wanted me to jump in or not.
I know, I was hesitating because of our intro in Echoes to Wisdom where I didn't jump in at the right time, or maybe it was Ocarina, I can't remember. But anyways, yes, and then I also forget if it was joined with or joined by, but it's joined by.
It's been a long time.
Hey, we're getting back in. Yes, it's true. Our first two episodes, this is our fourth episode into the season. So exciting. I'm really excited with how Season 7 is kind of taking off here. A lot of momentum, and I'm really so pleased about that. So thank you, Kady, for kind of being the official, literally cast member at this point now, which is really great.
It's very exciting.
I'm getting some really positive feedback about you specifically, and then kind of us doing the show. And,
that's
and
nice.
Others have come to me without me mentioning it about how kind of the two different experiences with Zelda, how it makes for well-rounded conversations, and I'm just so grateful for all of that.
Yeah.
Kady.
Yeah.
You been well?
I have been well.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
You've got pink hair.
Yeah.
You have orange hair.
Orange hair, yeah.
It's especially pink in the lighting right now.
Oh, that's nice. I wanted to do... So I tried doing pink hair before, and it washed out so quickly. So that's very nice to hear.
That it's still looking pink?
That it looks kind of pinkish.
Did you go pink first, then it...
Well, so this, I wanted to do, like, fire kind of look, and so it's kind of washed out a little bit and calmed down, but it was very vibranty orangish red for a while. But yeah, it still looks really nice. I like it a lot. Even though orange is my least favorite color, I feel like I've grown to have an appreciation for the color.
I hear you, but you're more internal sunshine of the spotless mind than you are like Fifth Element.
Yeah. No.
Right now, there is pink in there. I'm seeing it.
Nice.
There's
nice,
pink
nice.
and burgundy and whatnot. Well, cool. I have not dyed my hair any kind of colors.
Have you got a haircut though?
No, but I'm getting my hair cut in 2 days.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I had to kind of break up with my hairdresser.
Oh.
It just wasn't quite working out for the past 6 months. I think we just couldn't quite find. You know, she was cutting my hair a certain way, and even on like the very next day, sometimes the same day as the haircut, the things that I was asking for were still happening. I was getting weird little hooks in the back of my hair.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if where my all my little parts and colics were being fully paid attention to, but that's okay. But I found a new person, and he works at a shop just down the street here, and it's kind of a hip shop. So I'm kind of looking forward to going in there and getting. I mean, I'm just not going to be anything crazy. Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of hip with the kids. Yeah. No, actually, it's kind of a funny story. One of my coworkers, one of my kind of not employees. It's not like I hired them, but one of my coworkers that I'm in charge of, his dad is this guy. He works in a barber shop just down over on Ashland here.
No, that's cool.
I was talking to Alex. This doesn't matter at all, but I've also interviewed Alex for a returning student, so blah, blah, blah,
nice.
Some crisscross stuff there, because he's also going back to school and working at the same store that I work at. But anyways, he was like, well, my dad, they just started up a shop, and I went and looked at the shop, and Alex has a really cool haircut, honestly. And so even though I'm basically just looking for 40-year-old man crew cut, hopefully maybe it'll be a little tighter on the sides or something, and maybe it'll be kind of stylish. I am kind of looking forward to it.
No, that's cool.
So it's no haircut. This is the hair growing out a little bit.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because the hair looked different.
Different,
I couldn't tell what.
Yeah, I think it's almost grown out, so it's laying more now.
Yeah.
But anyways, Kady.
Yeah.
Thanks for catching up.
Yeah.
Hair on hair there. The hair conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we are talking about top 10 power-ups. However, I'll be interested to see what you said for that, because I was struggling to figure out what would qualify as a power-up. So I have quite a bit of items on here. So this might be more for me, like a top 10 items. However, I do have some that are not items. So maybe it'll be good. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think when we were texting about it, I kind of quickly thought, I was trying to think it through, and I thought, how about a power-up? Because we've done top 10 favorite items or whatever on the show before in the earlier seasons. And maybe we'll do one of those again, because there's been new games that have come out since. But I think I said something like, I think I was trying to wrap my head around it. I was like, it can be an item, a transformation, or like just a thing that happens to Link or something. I can't remember what the third thing I said was, but that's kind of what I used.
Okay,
and I actually don't have many items.
Oh,
on
interesting.
My list, so I think this might be well-rounded.
Yeah, no, that'll be cool. I also wanted to mention before we hop in, I've been playing the heck out of Wind Waker.
So you got the GameCube plugged into the TV, all that?
I don't have a GameCube. I've been playing the Wii U version.
That's what's so weird is that's what I was visualizing in my head, the Wii U.
Okay.
Even though I think I just said GameCube because obviously that's what
But yeah, no, I have a Wii U now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have that, and I also have Twilight Princess now, so I'll be playing that soon as well. Yeah. But I've been loving Wind Waker. I think it's really fun.
Where are you at in Wind Waker right now?
I think I'm about halfway through. I just finished with the Koroks, and now I'm running around before I go back to... I can't remember if it's Dragon Roost or if it's Windfall that has, like, the big fish section. That's where I'm going next.
You're looking for Jaboon?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, you're like maybe a fourth of the way through the game.
Oh, fourth of the way. Okay.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to dungeons, you're probably about a third. Let me push my glasses up. But I think game-wise, I think you're like halfway through the first half right now.
I was just running around last night at like 3 a.m. trying to fill out the map with all the different fish. So
you that's what you did in Echoes of Wisdom too. You like to go around the whole map and kind of get the whole thing cleared, and then you start exploring or whatever, or then start doing.
Yeah, I don't actually when I'm doing that. I don't actually hit up the islands yet.
Right,
I just want to see what the whole picture looks like, and then I can go back and like mess around.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's interesting. Yeah, oh gosh, I'm excited for you to play Twilight Princess. But Wind Waker is also great. You're in the meat of the game right now. You're in the best parts of the game right now. And I'm excited to see what happens next. We'll have to do some kind of... Oh, that's what I was going to say. I know we're not a news show, but as of this recording, about a day or two ago, there was a leak from a game store about next year's Zelda release. And it said something like... It was like, Zelda remake release or whatever. Heavily implying Wind Waker or Twilight Princess or maybe both.
That would be so cool.
Yes. Nintendo, it's been known for a while that Nintendo even actually, they kind of unofficially said in some interview somewhere, whoever they is, that the two Switch versions of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are essentially done.
Yeah.
They were just waiting for the right time to bring them out.
I figured because it just talking with everyone, especially talking with everyone at the Zelda Dungeon stream about it, it seems like they've been holding off from putting it places in order for them to have this big release on the Switch.
Yeah, and then to have Echoes of Wisdom, a full real Zelda game, come out right after Tears of Kingdom, a full real Zelda game. We talked about this in our episode. That was a little weird almost to have two back-to-back full Zelda games that usually you expect like an HD re-release and maybe a little side game getting peppered in there. But also with the announcement of the Switch 2 essentially coming out a year and a half from now, they have like one more year to kind of like just plant a little Zelda thing, and I think Twilight Princess or Wind Waker is just exactly the right thing to do.
I would also argue though that they might wait for the Switch 2 to plant it
and have it come out with that or something like that to push the Switch 2. I would say yes, except that I really feel, at least based on the release trailer of the Switch 2, it feels like Nintendo's going to use Mario Kart 9 as their big release.
Oh, that would make sense. How do you feel about the Switch 2?
I mean, we're not a news show, but I guess we're talking about it a little bit. This is more. This is actually stuff we're supposed to put on our Patreon page, but I guess we could talk about this a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine with it. Honestly, it's exactly what I wanted.
I will be happy with it if the Joy-Cons are good, because I've had to send my Joy-Cons back to fix. I've been waiting, or like putting off. I need to send both sets again. I hope the Joy-Cons are good.
I've never had a Joy-Con drift on me yet, but I don't use them very much.
Oh, okay.
I kind of get my Joy-Cons, I throw them in a basket, and then I use my Pro Controller, or I love these like third-party controllers like this one here by Hori, which gives you a nice, so I very rarely play with the Joy-Cons. I only play with the Joy-Cons really when I'm traveling.
Okay.
So I guess I'm maybe only using them like 2% of the time. So maybe I'm not wearing them out, I haven't had any problems. It does look like they kind of implied in the trailer that the analog sticks are going to be a little different.
Yeah.
That they might use a different technology than what the Switch Joy-Cons use, or the Switch analog sticks use. The Switch Joy-Con analog sticks use. There it is.
I will say I do hope that it's cross-compatible with the original Switch stuff. It is
100%.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they announced that officially. Even the Nintendo Online service is all. It's just more Switch.
Okay,
it's more Switch. It's going to be a little stronger. It's going to be a little bit like when they released new 3DS. It was like, okay, guess what? Some games only work on the 3DS, and going forward, it'll be really all the games will probably just work on Switch 2.
Yeah.
And so eventually you'll need to level up and buy the next one. but all the old games will work. There's a few that won't. Stuff like it's likely that the stuff that uses Labo, Nintendo Labo, won't work. Things
I heard
like that.
A lot of that. But no, that's cool.
But I'm
really
fine
quick.
with it.
I was just curious.
The Joy-Cons themselves will connect via magnets now instead of the rails.
I like that.
I think I like it too. I think I like it a lot. That was actually one of the things that also broke the most on Switches. There was, I used to have them when I worked at my other Target. We would have parents come into Target with Switches where the kid accidentally threw the Switch down the stairs, or tripped or whatever, and half the Joy-Con would be ripped off with the rest of it still connected to the console.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger and the Switch first came out, I had a really hard time getting like the Joy-Cons off because I didn't quite understand when I first got it how they worked and how to like pull it off and everything.
Like little button in the back and stuff.
Yeah, and then I would lend it to my cousin and she would have a hard time with it and I'd be like, "Don't break my Switch." So yeah.
Yes, totally. It looks like there's going to be a magnets and then maybe another mechanical peg. So there still might be the button, but I digress. I think this is the perfect little send-off gift if it's going to be Twilight Princess / Wind Waker on the Switch.
That would be very nice.
Super happy about it. So here's hoping.
Yes.
So maybe you mentioned you have Twilight Princess on the Wii U. It's not like you bought it because that store is down now. Did you find it somewhere, like as a disc or something?
Yeah, so my Wii U, I've been looking for one for a really long time at like a decent price, and I found it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, that's where I got my Wii U.
Yeah, that's where I perused. So I found a Wii U with Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and then a couple other just general Wii and Wii U games.
Yeah.
And like a whole thing, like it had Guitar Hero with a guitar with it and like 10 different controllers and all this for like $150.
Sure.
Yeah,
wow,
so I was
that's
like,
amazing.
Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I think I got mine for like $200 and had nothing with it, but I was just so excited. This is around when Breath of the Wild was coming out.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's great. I'm so happy you have that. Today, we're doing top 10 items.
Yes.
Top 10 power-ups, pardon me. And, but first let's do some listener feedback.
Yes. Did you want to start? Do you want me to start?
We should do, we fell into that conversation about the Switch 2. I'm so happy to talk about it. But maybe we should record a proper 20-minute thing.
I would love to.
Maybe on the next trailer, the next like release announcement, we'll get together and do, even if we have to like FaceTime it in or Skype it in or something, and put that on our Patreon.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. In honor of what I was just talking about with Wind Waker, I'll start with this one. This is a Spotify comment. I don't know what episode it goes to, but it's from someone named Ellie. It says, "I love this podcast. I'm 14 years old and started Zelda 2 years ago and have played 16 games." Ooh. Ellie, you're doing way better than me. My favorite place to live would probably be Windfall Island in Wind Waker. I love how bustling it feels.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we had an episode about favorite places to literally live.
Yeah. No, I love Windfall Island.
Yeah, Windfall's a blast. That was the first time in a Zelda game where I went to a place and really truly felt like it was alive.
Yeah.
Like Windfall Island was the first time it was on the GameCube, and so they had enough processing power to actually run a little bit of, all the NPCs. So like in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the two games that came just before it.
Yeah, they
and you
just
played
stand,
Ocarina,
they spin around.
They just stand. Yeah, if you're lucky, they're spinning. Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And that's it. This one, characters are running up and down the streets and stuff like that, and you can stop them at different times.
I was going to say, it's cool that they have different quests that like take place when they're moving at different times of the day.
Well, even that too, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And all of that is like, you consider what happens in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and boy, it really started in Wind Waker, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go to the next one here. This is a comment on our top 10 dungeons in Twilight Princess episode, which is one that I did last semester.
Not wrong.
I start in 3 days. I start my next semester of school, and I'm doing documentary podcasting. Ooh. And the other class I'm taking, it's part of the major. I'm so happy it is Truth and Lies in the Digital Age, and it's about fact checking your journalism.
Oh,
very excited to have that class. Yeah, it'll be cool.
Are you like a journalism minor?
No, I'm not. But it's just part of the podcasting major.
Okay, I guess because I wasn't a podcasting major. That's
right.
Cool.
Yeah. Because you were voiceover.
Yeah,
basically?
I was voiceover. Yeah.
And so like half of the podcasting classes end up merging with the voiceover students for obvious reasons, but the other half kind of merge with the journalism department.
That's really cool.
And so I've had a few of those kinds of classes. Anyways, yeah, it's great. I think returning students probably the closest thing I do to like a documentary show, but you never know what you're going to get hired for. So I think that'll be great. Anyways, Amy Boner over on, I think this is also Spotify. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Says, I have such... Oh, no, this was a comment on Spotify. Yeah, a comment on the episode on Spotify. I have such fond memories of Twilight Princess because I played it with my dad as a child in primary school. One of my favorites, ooh, this is a listener from across the pond because it's spelled with a U there, is when my dad was in the Arbiter's grounds and needed to open a wall with the spinner but couldn't figure out that was what he had to do. He picked me up from school, telling me how he had been trying all day, and was sure I couldn't figure it out, but he let me try. In the first few seconds, I went on the spinner, landed it into the hole, and spun the door open. My dad was shocked. The scrolling there was a little weird. I apologize.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to go back and forth on the sentences. But yeah, Amy, that is such a fun moment. The spinner was one of my top 10 favorite items in our favorite items episode from like season 1 or season 2. Kady, you have not yet experienced the spinner. It's a weird one. It's a cool one. What Twilight Princess does best is really, it has weird items.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I think being on this podcast has helped me a lot with, especially when you pointed out to me, because I guess I never had it like really fully click that whenever you get given a new item in a Zelda game, normally that's what you use to beat the boss of the dungeon.
Yeah.
So that was helpful last night when I was playing Wind Waker. I got to the room and immediately was like, I got to use this boomerang somehow.
yeah, totally.
And then I was able to beat it in like 5 minutes.
It was the big plant hanging down.
Yeah,
it's
I
a
like
cool
that one.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Reminiscent of the boss in Jabu Jabu in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
You'll notice there's like repeating boss styles too.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. All right, why don't you do the next one? It looks like it might be is this the Rob Daman, Minnesota listener?
Rob Daman, Minnesota listener. It just says, I think this is on Apple Podcast.
Definitely.
It's 5 stars. It says, okay, fine. I like Breath of the Wild.
That's the title of the review.
Yes. So it says, love the pod. I grew up with the console Zelda franchise and have loved every title except for 2. When Breath of the Wild came out, I had mixed feelings. In fact, after finishing, I immediately started up another playthrough of Twilight, my favorite Zelda game. I felt the same with Tears, but after listening to the borderline annoying level of positivity on your podcast, I started another playthrough of Breath of the Wild and ... am really enjoying it.
Oh, I love this.
I'm taking it slow and just walking around, taking it all in. I had forgotten about the dragon warped around the mountains, which was a great moment.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for forcing me to play this game the way it was intended. I'm going to try Tears again next. Okay, fine. I like Breath of the Wild.
Oh, Rob, that's wonderful. I love it so
great.
much.
I'm glad, yeah.
I have also had that experience with some Zelda games. I love Zelda as a franchise, and there's a few games that I sometimes don't click with me in the beginning, and sometimes I don't even like halfway through, and I have to go back and give them another go.
That's how my experience has been with almost every Zelda game, I will
Whoa.
say. And that is not a thing against Zelda games. That is just a thing as me as a person.
It's not me, it's you. Or it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. Literally me with Zelda
But we're
games.
breaking up Zelda.
Yeah, because like I get into a game and I just want it to start already, and so I'm just clicking through and ignoring all the dialogue.
Yeah.
Or I go through and I'm just running around doing whatever and not paying attention, or I'm like, this game is completely different than this other game that was like 20 years later, surprisingly.
Right.
And just not getting it. So I would say pretty much every game except for Echoes of Wisdom, because that was the most recent one, I've had to try and play 2 or 3 times, just like starting from the beginning. And then once I actually calm down and pay attention to it, I love it. So, yeah.
I agree. I think that's actually one of the best things about the Zelda series is that as much as things remain the same, every single game is a little different.
Yeah.
And sometimes in different ways. Sometimes there's an overworld, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes, I think about Skyward Sword, so like controlling Link, having Link run forward in Ocarina, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword, it's about the same. Like there's no real jump button. It's all kind of feels the same, but maybe what happens in the game is different, or how the dialogue works, or the different mechanics that are there. I was really turned off by the sprint mechanic in Skyward Sword initially, so much so that I was like, I don't even know why we're doing this. And so, and I've talked many times about actually my struggles going back to the Super Nintendo game, which I think is a phenomenal game, but I had a really hard time playing it, literally playing it in the beginning, and I had to like relax and play it. I've said this 100 times, play it the way it wants to be played. And I think in some ways that's the strength of the series too, is you're not only experiencing different games through the decades, one thing that you're going to get with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD on the Wii U is that your control stick is set to modern standards.
Yeah.
Because back in the GameCube days, your camera stick was inverted no matter what, and you can't change it.
I will say I do like inverted flight controls, so that has been good. I had to like go in for the Wii U and like change that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I switched that too on Skyward Sword. It's just the Star Fox in me. Like I have to
Yeah.
still think Star Fox.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the idea is if you're pushing down, it's because you're pulling back on the joystick.
Exactly. I like it because it's like an actual pilot thing. That's how my brain works.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, here's our last listener feedback by One Nerdy Boy. Back in October over on Apple Podcasts, another 5-star review. Thank you so much for the 5-star reviews. I used to say that, that's the best way for us to get shared on Apple Podcasts is the reviews. It's how they use it in their algorithm. But also these days, Spotify has per episode reviews and comments now. And they also use that a lot in their algorithms. So any kind of feedback you ever want to give us, we are so grateful. It's the best way to support the show because it helps us be shared with more people.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. One Nerdy Boy says... "You make working difficult" is the name of the review or the title of the. You make working difficult. 5 stars. All I want to do is play Legend of Zelda. You've ruined me. Oh my gosh, this is hysterical. I listen to you as I work, and with every passing episode, I find myself itching for that sweet, sweet hiya! You've inspired me to start a canon chronological playthrough of the series. If you want to have a crippling Zelda addiction, this podcast is for you. A conservative 3 green heart emojis. Very, very well used there. I appreciate the 3 green heart emojis. Thank you so much, One Nerdy Boy. That's, first of all, a little bit to unpack there. Super cool. I hear you. Sometimes I have a hard time working because I'm thinking about what we're going to do on the show.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening to us. And this idea of doing the chronological playthrough. No, wait, chronological. Wait, does it say?
It doesn't say which timeline.
One Nerdy Boy, you got to let us know. You can blue sky us or message us or just leave another review or something. Are you doing chronological release order or are you doing chronological timeline order? That's what I'm wondering.
Then are you doing like the child timeline?
Which one's first?
Or,
it's always the question.
First? Very interesting, though. I completely get that, too. When David texted me and we were coming up with ideas for this. Yeah.
He says, or they say, canon chronological. So I would interpret that as perhaps like story.
Timeline.
Like lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, not release order.
But yeah, you texted me for like what our ideas were going to be for this when I was at work. And I immediately like opened up a Google Doc and was like, all right, I gotta, this is a little bit of spoilers, but coming up later in this season, just like an episode or 2 later, we're doing kind of like the evolution and like a deep dive into the Kokiri.
Yes.
And I will be hosting that episode because I'm very excited about that episode.
I can't wait.
And I got like 3 pages of notes that I was writing down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, that's, I think if we stay to the release order that we have planned right now, that'll be 2 episodes from now.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. I love that.
I love it. That's great. Well, One Nerdy Boy, thank you so much for the review. Super cool that you're going through those games. What a cool experience that must be. That's one thing that, when that's one thing that I'm fine, but that's one thing I'll never have is playing the games in chronological order organically because I've been playing them just as they've been coming out.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine.
I've just been hopping back and forth though, all of them.
You're hopping all over the place. I think it's great.
All over the place. I just am like, which one am I most interested in playing next?
I feel like you're like Gandalf with all the candles, where he's just going through all the different books, grabbing and researching, and like, what can I get next?
Yeah,
but,
literally.
But that's cool. All right, let us get into our top 10 power-ups. Now, I think maybe I'll go first.
Yes.
So that you can go last, but with your number 1. Is kind of how the math works out here. Yes, and we already talked a little bit about what a power-up was to us. And I could probably go back and look at the text, but it's basically, it's not just items. It could be an item. It could be an event that happens in the storyline. It could be a transformation or something like that.
Yeah, I take it when I was making mine as something that gives you an ability that you didn't have before and typically helps you some way in the game.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
how I took it.
I think I used that. I think I used how much does this change the game going forward.
Yeah.
And then also I had a little sprinkle of like emotionally, how does it feel when it happens?
Yes.
So I'll go with my first one here. And this one's almost an I do have some honorable mentions, but this one's almost an honorable mention, but I think it has to be. Over the years, I have almost thrown shade at this item. This is just an item. It's an Ocarina of Time. I've actively said on this show, and I'm so sad that I have, so I need to write this. I've actually said, I don't even use that item. I get it, and I throw it in my pause menu. I never use it ever again. But one thing that I forgot to mention on our season premiere, the Ocarina of Time 3D episode, is that there was an item that I started using because I got a little bit of feedback from listeners. They were saying, like, no, you got to use this item. Use it this way, use it that way. It's so great. And I did for my playthrough of Ocarina of Time 3D, and it was amazing. It changed how I played the game.
Yeah.
It's an item you get very early on.
Okay.
Can you guess what it is?
Man, is it the...
It's almost not a power-up because it's so early, but you go from nothing to this.
Is it the Deku seeds?
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, Deku nut, but yeah.
Deku nut, yeah.
The Deku nut. It's the Deku nut. Admittedly, in any other context, maybe it shouldn't be on this list, but I thought, you know what, I got to give it some love.
I like it. I thought you were going to say the Lens of Truth or Oracle of Truth. That you get, like, really late on.
Well, no spoilers. Well, I guess kind of a spoiler, but I have that in my honorable mentions.
Okay, because I was going to put that in an honorable mention as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're jumping. Let's just do honorable mentions first. No, I'm just joking.
No.
Yeah, the Deku nut is amazing when you first get it. I never respected it. I never used it correctly. But it's almost what the boomerang is to the very first Legend of Zelda game. The Deku nut almost is in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
You just smack that thing down on the ground. You stun whatever you're fighting against. Like I think I always just was like going in for the sword or jumping and dodging. But now you go in, you freeze them. It freezes almost every single bad guy. I even did a little bit of research on it. The only character it doesn't freeze, apparently, is Ganon in the final fight, but throwing him down still causes damage.
So it works on the Re-Dead, too?
So it's my understanding that it works on everything, but there's a few that it affects slightly differently.
Okay.
But basically stuns just about every single bad
really
guy.
Cool.
And so I need to give the Deku Nut some love because it deserves it. And we're probably 5 years in from my first Ocarina of Time review where I said, I didn't even use it. And it's amazing. And so, yes, it is. When you actually realize what you've just gotten, it completely changes the game. And the reason I say it's a little bit like the boomerang in the very first Legend of Zelda is because I don't think you've really played that game too much. Maybe you've poked around on it a little.
Yeah.
There's a nice flow once you get the boomerang where the boomerang stuns bad guys and freezes them in place. Yeah. So you kind of find yourself keeping the boomerang on B or A, and obviously the sword is B or vice versa or whatever it is in that game. I can't fully remember. And you get this flow. You walk up to an enemy, you boomerang them, and you go in with the sword. And then you boomerang them, and you go in with the sword. Stun them, sword, right?
Yeah.
And I realize that's the exact same gameplay flow once you have the Deku Nut in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I figured that out. You can do that in Wind Waker as well. I never realized.
Wait, the boomerang freezes people or characters?
Yeah, if it's not like small enemies like the Keese or whatever, if you use it on bigger enemies, it like stuns them and you can go up with your sword.
Wait, it's starting to come back into my memory. Do they like bounce back and shake a little?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have done that a few times.
Yeah,
the boomerang is always the item. Like, it doesn't really work that way in Breath of the Wild and Tears, but it's like famously the one. And I think in the very first Zelda game, you can even technically not get it if you're not careful. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, I digress.
Nice.
Deku Nut was my number 5. Ocarina of Time 3D.
Nice. So my number 5, I was trying to pick ones from all different games, but this one I have a double up on here.
Okay.
So I loved Link's Awakening when I played it. And I had to put the red mail on here for when you take quarter damage.
Wow.
Again, I don't know if this technically counts as a power-up. I think it does.
I think it does.
I was going back and forth between the blue and red armor, but the red armor just does so much more for you. And you get it like right before that final boss. And it's so good.
When I played the Link's Awakening remake, which is also referencing the Link's Awakening DX game, I did keep that red tunic on all the time.
Oh, yeah. No,
Once
I
got it, I think I got it. Well, you get it after the color dungeon, right?
Yeah.
You get red or blue. I went red, and I wore it nonstop. I loved it. You're absolutely right.
It's so nice.
In fact, in Echoes of Wisdom, if you scan a Link amiibo in Echoes of Wisdom, you get a red tunic.
Really?
And I've been wearing it as Zelda. She's running around in a red tunic.
Cute.
It's so much fun to see her do it. It's cool. Like, if you scan, actually just the other day, it was with this Switch right here. I was like, you know what? I'm not really a big amiibo person. I've got a bunch of them for the show here. I put them up and stuff like that. But I was like, I just wonder. And I zapped a Zelda. It was actually this Zelda right here, this Wind Waker Zelda amiibo. And she gets a dress that looks like it's from the Super Nintendo game, in my opinion. It could be wrong. And then I was like, well, what the heck? Let's try a Link. And I think I zapped this Link right here. See this 8-bit Link? And I got a red tunic, and I was like, that's the coolest. And then I did a little reading, and I guess if you zap a Ganondorf you get a black cat suit. But you already have, like, I already have a cat suit.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's so much fun. Not that I don't want Zelda to be in her, like, cool dress or cool disguise, but it is kind of fun to see her running around in a red tunic in Echoes of Wisdom.
No, it's so cute.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, red tunic, I think that totally fits. It kind of changes the game going forward.
Yeah.
It's a great power-up. I also would like to note, obviously not in the original Link's Awakening, you know?
Really?
Well, because the original was the black and white Link's Awakening, and it wasn't until Link's Awakening DX when they added the color dungeon. And then they could actually color Link's tunic red, blue, or otherwise, and that's where it came from.
Okay. Cool to know.
Super cool. Have you ever gone with the blue? I don't think I ever have.
I don't think I have. I like the red.
Yeah, I know. I go that way too. Cool. Well, I kind of took over that one. I'm sorry. I just realized I got so excited.
Yeah, it was great.
You're like, red tunic. And I was like, by the way.
No, I appreciate it. Because I didn't have much else to say there. It's just like, you can take less damage. It's great.
I see. Well, my next one I don't have as much to say because there's not as much to say, but I really wanted to include it. I also, whenever we do these top 10s, I do actively try to find, like, well, what's, if we're doing favorite monsters, it's like, well, what is it in this game? What is it in Adventure of Link? What is it in Phantom Hourglass? What is it, you know what I mean? And so I purposely try to find different games, and I also try to kind of do the whole breadth of the timeline to get some representation in there. And so I was thinking about Adventure of Link, which is Zelda 2 for the Nintendo. Came out in 1987 in America, I think. And you get items in that game, but they work a little different than they do in the original Zelda game. They're not so much items that you whip out and you can use as a secondary. It's like you'll get the candle, and the next time you're in a cave, the cave is just lit.
Oh, okay.
Or you get a hammer and you walk up to a stone and it just kind of breaks. You're not really assigning it to buttons in that game. But what you do is there's a magic system in that game. And you slowly build up experience points, like a role-playing game. You slowly build up experience points, and as you do, you can assign those experience points to different levels of magic. And as you go higher and higher in the different levels of magic, you're essentially awarded new abilities. So the very first one is, if I remember correctly, I think the very first one is like Shield. So after 100 magic points, if you want, and then you the way you actually execute it, because A is jump in that game, and B is sword. So there's no extra buttons for like an item. I think that's why they were experimenting with this, because obviously in the very first Legend of Zelda, there's no jump button. So I think A is the item and B is the sword, or vice versa. So they needed a jump, they needed a sword. Where do you put a third button? It's select.
Oh, interesting.
So as you're playing, you push select to activate your magic. But instead of having to be like, let's say it's a Deku nut, you'd be like, throw it down, see left, see left, or whatever it is, on the DS, it's like, push the screen or whatever, right? The way it works in the Adventure of Link is you push select to activate the magic, and then it's like, it's with you for an amount of time.
Ooh.
So it's not like you're sitting there jamming on the select,
yeah.
But you basically take your left hand, which is on the movement, and you just move over to select real quick, you hit it, and then for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever magic item you've selected ahead of time in your pause menu activates. So if it's shield, you push select, and for the next 10 seconds, Link blinks, and he's got his shield magic working, and it uses a little bit of magic meter up top, and there it is. So that's how you use items in that game. It's very different. However, the one that I think is kind of the coolest power-up, is the one that I almost had jump in there, because I just wanted to recognize it's the first time that Link ever jumped in a game, or jumped really high, because he does have a normal jump button, but if you use, I think it's like the second level of magic, if you get jump and you push that select button, he glows red or something, and he jumps twice as high, so you can get into higher spots in dungeons.
Nice.
And so on and so forth. There's other things. I won't talk about every single one, but almost to the end, like the second or third from the final thing you get is one called Fire, or Flame. I think it's, Fire. The Fire spell is what I wrote down in my notes here. And so Fire is kind of cool. It takes a long time to get. It takes a little bit of a fetch quest. You have to bring water to this woman in this town, even though, you still need your magic and all that kind of stuff. You need enough magic to use it. But once you combine enough elements, you go down, and this old man in the basement of one of the towns. Oh, it's the town. Wait, I put it in my notes. It's the town Nabooru. Which again, remember that all these names actually started in the Adventure of Link. All the Ocarina of Time characters are named after towns in Hyrule in Adventure of Link. So in the town of Nabooru, you go and you have some water and a few other things, talk to this lady, you get fire. And it's not nuts, but I think it's probably the most dramatic magic that you get in the game, because of course, in that game, when you have full health and you use your sword, it still shoots a little beam out. But if you use fire, you shoot fireballs out. And you don't even have to have full health or anything. It's just while you're using the magic. So while the magic's activated, you have fireballs. And they're not Mario style where they bounce. They just shoot straight out. But you can use them. There's a couple range baddies that it's really, really helpful on. Otherwise, it's really tough to get some of these bad guys. You can stand back and just shoot these fireballs. And so, even though it's maybe not as dramatic as, like, Link turning into a wolf or something like that in Twilight Princess, which is a very dramatic moment, I wanted to include it. So, Fire Spell as a top 10 power-up should be noted. Probably the coolest power-up in that game. There's one other magic where it helps you see one of the bad guys' weak points. There's like this bird that's kind of invisible. One might argue that that's more epic, but I'm going with Fireball or Fire Spell.
I like that.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I haven't played that one yet, so that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll get in there. We're gonna do maybe it's the end of the season, maybe it's next season, like a proper. Maybe it's both Nintendo game. No, we can't. We got to do them separate. But we'll get there.
So my number 4, I have us. You had us on the second game of the series. I have us jumping all the way to Breath now.
Ooh, I love it.
So obviously you start with like the first 4 or 5, I guess, abilities that you have. You have the bomb, you have stasis, you have all that.
Yeah.
But you can level up certain ones of those, and by far the best one is Stasis Plus, because with Stasis Plus, not only are you able to freeze moving objects, you're able to freeze living creatures, including enemies.
Yeah.
And that makes the game so much more fun. You can come up with such cool ways to deal with enemies. I think it's a blast. I think it's so cool.
Stasis Plus. I remember getting Stasis Plus, and is it just that you have it longer, or it's stronger, or what was it again?
It makes it so you can freeze enemies. Because
can you not freeze in?
Not at the beginning. At least from what I was looking.
I think
you're
you're
it's been
right.
a while. You're able to use it on rocks or whatever, but you can't use it on living creatures yet.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess I never fully noticed that.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I stasis all the time. I think I use stasis mostly in Age of Calamity.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
because they worked it in. But no, stasis is great. Stasis Plus on bad guys. Did you ever have like a good freeze the bad guy moment in the game or anything?
I just liked freezing the goblins when they like get up on their legs and like they lean back a little bit and they're just like on one leg, and then when you hit them and then like do the ragdoll physics when they fly. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. Man, I guess I never really fully noticed that. I remember the pluses happening in Breath of the Wild, and that was to my weakness. I was kind of like pushing buttons, let's keep going, and I didn't fully read those. And I guess I just missed that. That's actually what it brought.
Yeah.
Super cool.
No, I think it's the best upgrade for sure, because like the bombs, it's just like, oh, they deal more damage and like the radius is bigger for the explosion. But stasis is the only one that like fundamentally changes the ability.
I agree. Yeah, you can do completely different things by sending the bad guys around, freezing them up and stuff like that. That's cool. That's great. Well, I think we should go to break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and do our final 3 each, and then we'll have our list put together here. Maybe we'll take some notes here. I'll see. We'll have our final list of 10, and then maybe some honorable mentions. Do you know what I didn't do today? Which I usually do for these top 10 episodes, is I didn't shoot out social media posts to get some of our listeners' thoughts on these items. But as you're listening, you're more than welcome to find us on X or Blue Sky or Instagram or a bunch of different places where we're just Another Zelda Podcast on all those things. And you're more than welcome to include, or even if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can add your thoughts in right in the comments on the episodes. I feel a little bad that I didn't do it preemptively, because sometimes it's fun to mention a few of them in the episode. But there it is.
That's all right.
All right, we'll go to break. We'll be right back for our final 3. That's it. That was the most exciting way to get back into the episode ever, wasn't it, Kady?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that was.
I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I was making choices with each word. I don't know if I made the right choices, but here we are.
Hey, you got to be confident in the decisions that you make in your life.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go.
That was
no regrets.
That was E04 vibes right there. I don't know. We got to be careful. All right, let's do this. Our final 3.
Yes.
Oh, what do we have so far? So it's Deku Nut,
You had the Deku Nut. I had the red mail.
Red mail.
And then you had the fireball.
Yep, I'll say fire spell.
And then I had Stasis Plus.
Stasis Plus. Yeah, we are working up. Stasis Plus. Yep, cool. Awesome. All right. So I guess, pardon me, I guess I'll go next for my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like this one's a little obvious, but I almost feel like it has to be in there, and maybe you have it too. I don't know.
Okay.
It's a game you've played.
Okay.
But maybe you haven't finished it yet.
What?
I think if you asked any person what's one of the most dramatic power-ups that Link ever gets in any Zelda game, there's a few out there, but I think every single person considers the Fierce Deity mask to be one of them.
Oh, yes, I haven't gotten that one yet.
Yes, I've only personally experienced it once in my life. But it is actually it's hysterical because obviously we experience it more as a costume in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom than we do as the actual moment in Majora's Mask. But it takes a lot to get the mask. It's a huge quest, and when you put it on, it gives you literal godlike powers when you're fighting Majora's Mask, and you can take Majora's down with 1 or 2 hits. 1 or 2 well-deserved hits. Link grows to be 10 feet tall, and
that's so
is legitimately kind of scary. Puts it on, and every single mask transformation in Majora's Mask has a little bit of terror in it anyway.
Yeah. I feel like the whole game, from what I've played so far, I'm still playing it, but has a little bit of that horror element to it, and I love it.
I love it too. I really do. I think it was like the best way to go when it comes to, there was never a third, but if Ocarina of Time is Episode 4 A New Hope... Wait, you don't watch Star Wars.
I need to. I know I need
no
to.
Problem, no
My
problem.
roommate's been on me about it.
No, totally no problem. But it's like Majora's Mask is almost The Empire Strikes Back. It's like we're going to go darker, we're going to deal with some more interesting themes, blah, 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 blah. There never was the
Return
of the Jedi.
It's the second Spider-Man set of movies.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take that.
Andrew
that
Garfield
works too.
Spider-Man.
That works too. And yeah, do you know what I was thinking? And the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I was like, and the Tom Holland one doesn't get sad. The second one is just them in France, I think, right? Just jumping around with the elementals.
Yeah, the third one, it gets kind of more serious and sad, but also not fully, because then you get the other guys that come in, and it's great. It's a fun time. Seeing that in theaters opening night, whoo, that was an experience. That was great.
I also saw Spider-Man 3 in the theaters. I don't often go to the theaters. It wasn't opening night, but I still saw it with enough of an audience that they were hoops and hollers, and it was cool.
We were losing it. I will say, though, I was one of the only people in the theaters that freaked out when Daredevil showed up, because I like the Daredevil series a lot, and I kept telling my brother, hey, Spider-Man's in trouble. He needs a lawyer. He's going to show up. He's like, shut up.
You really didn't know?
No one knew
going in.
Yeah, no one knew going in really at the time, because all that we saw was a hand. He's like, I was like, that's him. He's like, no, it can't. You can't just say that. As he showed up first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
So excited.
Yeah, that was cool. So, anyways, Fierce Deity. There's not too much more to say because the battle actually happens pretty quickly, but it's just one of those big moments. It's there's no version of it really happening. I guess if you got it earlier in the game in any way, shape, or form, it would ruin the game anyway. It's almost the Super Saiyan thing a little bit. You know what I mean? He goes big. But anyway, Fierce Deity, Majora's Mask.
Nice.
Is my number 3.
So my number 3 is Hopping to Tears. And it's an armor set that I was craving in Breath of the Wild, and then when they added it, it made me very pleased. And that's the Froggy armor.
Oh my gosh! Awesome!
Because that game rains way too much. And so being able to still climb and not have to halt your entire life is so nice. It's so great. As soon as I saw, they had, the carrier quest in order to get that, I was like, I'm doing this immediately to get this armor.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great pick. I don't think I have the full set yet. I think I just got, the shirt or something.
The full set is amazing, because obviously, you are able to climb fully without slipping. I could be wrong, but I think it makes you a little bit faster when climbing too, so it still works as the climbing gear. I could be wrong though, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, wow, cool. What was that technically? What's it called? The Slippy suit?
I think it's just the Froggy armor.
Froggy armor.
The Slippy suit. I like that.
Oh, Fox! All right, there we go. Cool, love it. Okay, well then I guess we're kind of moving right along here, but I'm fine with it. Oh yeah, so the next one that I have is Breath of the Wild. I know I haven't had a Breath of the Wild one yet. And I almost didn't put it on here because it's technically part of the DLC. So maybe one might argue that it's not part of the main game experience.
It's still good, though.
But I wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was a real highlight. Have you played any of the DLC for Breath of the Wild?
Not.
Interesting.
I know a decent amount of stuff. I've seen some of the memories and clips and stuff from it.
Oh, like the cutscenes and things? Yeah, well, there's a few things that get added in, especially in the second DLC package that came out for Breath of the Wild. And there's a part of the game, just they build a couple new shrines and all that.
Yeah.
So there's more shrines to do, but one way in the second wave of the DLC, before unlocking a lot of the shrines, or before unlocking the ability to go find them all, there's a quick little mode, I guess you could say, where you go back to your original cave house, where Link wakes up, where he opens his eyes, and there's a weapon waiting for you there called the Obliterator.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
You heard of it? No. It is part of the Champion's Quest, and the Obliterator actually looks like a 4-pronged trident. So what is it, a quadrant? Is that what that would be called?
I guess.
I'm not sure. Anyways, 4 prongs, and it's a weapon that you hold in your hand, and it's like a big old fork, and each of the tips kind of evoke each of the 4 champions, just subtly.
Ooh.
The thing that happens is that when you use this item, it's a one-hit, I guess, kill for any enemy you strike with it. However, you also go down to half a heart anytime you hold it.
That's so interesting.
And so there's a couple things you have to do with it. There's a bit of like, go here and get this, go here and get that, on only having that weapon. And the reason I wanted to mention it is because even though it's just a simple add, it's just another weapon in the DLC, but the way that they handled it is, I think, kind of brilliant. The thing with Breath of the Wild and Tears that is equally fun and after a while less fun is that, the fun thing about, let's just say Breath of the Wild specifically, is the fact that in the beginning it's just so hard. How will I ever? I can barely climb a tree. How will I ever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then eventually, after you have 3 rings of stamina, Link's basically running straight up hills. You know what I mean? Or mountains. And that's cool. It's fun to have that growth and feel like you're getting more and more powered up. But sometimes, I think, I'm critiquing it a little bit here, but occasionally there's a little bit of there's a bar graph there, or a line graph, where the difficulty and mystery and inability to do things where you have to be creative to get stuff done starts to diminish as Link gets stronger as you play the game. Totally okay. It's just that the gameplay changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning you're like, oh my gosh, one bokoblin.
I like when you go to a stick and it has question marks on it.
Yeah, I have an apple and a stick. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to sneak around. How am I ever going to get away from this goblin? The first time you get to a Lizalfos or whatever, they're like, they just ruin you. You know what I mean? And then eventually, you're so powered up that, okay. Which is still cool, and that's fun, and that's all part of it. Sometimes in stuff like Breath of the Wild, when they reduce you down to nothing again, a little bit like Eventide Island in Breath of the Wild, sometimes I kind of like that stuff. Yeah. Sometimes it's fun halfway through to be like, oh, that's right, I remember how crafty I had to get in the early days just to get through the levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is completely like a different game, but what it makes me think of is my response to Assassin's Creed Valhalla that I played.
Okay.
Because that game has an eternal leveling system, and I do all the side quests, and I have all the DLC for it as well. And I want to do all that before I do the mainline quest. So then I do all that, and I get to the mainline quest, and I'm level 400.
Okay, yeah.
And the whole point of Assassin's Creed games is you're supposed to be stealthy and find ways to go about things. I can just walk in and one-hit anything, and I won't lose any health and just go about my day. And that's why I haven't really returned to the game since then, because it gets boring after a while.
There's a whole science to balancing. People feel good when they're rewarded and their character levels up and they feel a little bit stronger. They feel like the stuff they've done is being rewarded, or that their character is growing in some way. But there's a whole math and science and artistry really to making sure that the game scales with it at the same pace. And that's not just bad guys getting harder, but I think in Breath of the Wild and Tears the game changes a little bit once you can run up mountains.
Yeah.
So to that point, this Obliterator item, it's kind of cool because when you first get it, the whatever the text dialogue says is something, tells you it's a one hit for any bad guy. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. I guess I'm just going to go wreak havoc, right?
Yeah.
And you grab it, and you probably notice that your hearts go all the way down to 1, but you've been playing for, 20, 30 hours plus, super powerful, that you let's face it, at a certain point, when you come to a bokoblin camp, you just kind of run in there and you start hacking and slashing in the later parts of the game when you're so powerful. So I remember having this obliterator and being like, all right, let's go. I went for a hack and slash, got 2 bokoblins or whatever, because they're down in the, also what's interesting is you're coming back out of that original cave that you do in the beginning of the game. So there's some bokoblins down in the woods there with that huge log that's kind of on its side with a crack down the top. And you kind of run over there, because I think you have to collect some things. But anyway, it's been a couple years actually. I ran in there and I got 1 or 2 bokoblins, and then one threw a rock at me and I was out.
Yeah.
Hit me on the head with a rock, from afar, and I was like, bonk, and I was like, what? And he's like, oh, you know what? And so what happens is, the irony is you get one of the strongest weapons in the game, but you actually have to go back to playing stealth.
Yeah.
Instead of being this all-powerful source, all of a sudden I totally reinterpreted how I was thinking about the game. And I was sneaking. Everything was like, sneaking up behind them and getting the bokoblins to do what you got to do. Because the second one sees you, you basically have to run away. You can't, you know what I mean? And so that was a blast. And so I really wanted to mention that power up because I think it was a fun one.
Yeah.
It was a really cool thing to get in the end levels of the game. I think it was a really smart way to twist the game a little bit without making it too twisty.
Yeah.
One of the critiques of something like Eventide Island, or when you're doing the Trials of the Sword, Master Sword stuff, is, I spent all this time getting all this cool gear and you took it all away from me. Sometimes that happens. That anxiety can kick in. Well, this is something where nothing's taken away, but these are the rules of the weapon.
You have the choice to use it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was really fun. It really turned the game, more so than ever, into a little stealth game for me again. And I just really enjoyed it. Even though at first sometimes it was also sometimes frustrating, but that's all part of it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention the obliterator. The one-hit obliterator, I think, is what it's actually technically called. It's a weird-looking weapon, but it was a fun way to kind of begin the slightly more rote or mundane kind of let's go unlock 12 more shrines thing.
Yeah.
But before that, it was really quite interesting. It was cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, we got to figure out a way to get you the DLC.
Yeah, I need to play it.
You have it on the Switch, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll figure something out.
So my number 2 takes us back to, well, I'm specifically talking about it in the Link's Awakening DX, but it's a classic item that a lot of the older games have.
What?
Uh-huh. I was going to go Rock's Feather, but then I was like, no, I know what I'm truly talking about.
I almost went Rock's Feather, too.
I know what I'm truly talking about, and that's the Pegasus Boots.
Dude!
The Pegasus Boots are my number 2, because...
Wow!
Look, Rock's Feather lets you jump, but it's not good on its own. If you get the Pegasus Boots, and then you can do, the super long jump, you can also use it, and, the battles are really fun, where you can, do the little run-in and, splice through people. And also, it's just great for extra movement when you're going across screens to get places faster. It's great. I love the Pegasus Boots.
Yes.
They're perfect.
And
No notes.
No notes. And they're even better on the Switch version because I think they're mapped to a different button. I don't think you have to put them on one of your items. Isn't that right? Aren't they a shoulder button on the Link's Awakening version?
They might
on the
be.
2019?
I cannot remember, though.
The only downside on the Game Boy version is that they were an item. So it's you'd have to take your shield away and put them on. And so sometimes you'd use them less. So I think they really are the item to have, especially in the 2019 version.
No, it's so great. Yeah.
You have not played A Link to the Past yet.
I have not.
That is actually the origin of the Pegasus Boots.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know it either. I actually played Link's Awakening before A Link to the Past myself, and I remember in A Link to the Past being like, "Oh, it's like the Game Boy thing."
That was me playing. But I played Tears of the Kingdom for the first time, and then I went back and I played the older Zelda games, and I'm like, "Oh, it's the monster from Tears of the Kingdom."
Yeah, right. Exactly. I love it. It's so funny.
It was so good.
Oh my gosh, Pegasus Boots. We are okay. We're at our finals.
Yeah. Did you want to do the finals, or did you want to do honorable mentions first?
I love that format. Let's do honorable mentions first.
Okay.
Yeah. What's I think I only had 2, and one was Wolf Link. I was gonna hand it off to you, but I'll just say Wolf Link real quick. You have not experienced Wolf Link or the transformation yet. I'm very excited for you to play Tears of the Twilight Princess. Very excited indeed. I know you have it on your Wii U, but there's a little part of me that almost wants to wait to see if it'll be on the Switch. But I digress. Maybe you can start playing on your Wii U. I'm not going to control what you can and can't play. But I'm very excited for you to play that one. It's not the perfect game. It is my favorite, but it's not the perfect game. I actually think Breath is actually a maybe better game as far as like well-roundedness and all that kind of stuff. But Twilight Princess is a blast. It is my favorite Zelda game, and there is the reason I have it as an honorable mention is the dynamic of changing into a wolf in that game does change the gameplay a little bit. Playing as a wolf is different than playing as a human. You see differently, you smell differently, you can talk to things differently. You can't talk to humans, you can talk to animals, blah, blah,
cool.
blah, blah. Going in and out of the Twilight changes. And the transformation, this is like that honorable mention, the transformation is a cool cutscene. There's a nice emotional moment. It's quick. It's only a couple seconds, but Link actually doing his werewolf thing and turning into a wolf, it's a cool little moment.
Yeah.
After the fact, sometimes you feel a little more the reason I didn't have it on my list is because even though I just said all these things about the wolf, the truth is when it comes down to truly navigating the world, you don't feel stronger as the wolf. You technically feel stronger as Link. And if it's a power up, you feel like, oh, I'm unstoppable. Quite frankly, as a wolf, there's a lot of times where you feel like you can't do things. You can't open doors because wolves can't open doors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it changes things, which is really cool. That's why I did not put it on my list.
Yeah. No, I get that. Honorable mention for me is in Echoes of Wisdom, so the most recent one. When you get the ability to grab things from afar. I considered that as a power-up. But also, it is something that is, like, inherent. You have to have it for the game. So I wasn't sure whether to put it on the actual list. But that is something that just inherently changes the gameplay. It makes you feel like you can do a lot more within the game. And it's super fun getting to mess around with it to bring things further and farther away. Use it to, like, drop things on people or to just mess with enemies. I think it's great.
I don't know if I've gotten that yet. Is it essentially a power-up that happens to Tri? Can Tri just reach farther?
Yep. Tri, you can shoot Tri out by holding your button down and grab things from afar and just, like, go farther.
That's cool. That's cool. I just finished the Deku dungeon last night.
It's fun, right?
It was fun. Yeah, I literally finished it and then paused and saved, so I haven't even talked to the locals yet, storyline-wise. But it was a blast. But Tri just got their 5th triangle.
Oh, yeah.
So now I feel so powerful with that 5th triangle. I'm like, I can, throw so many things out there. But anyway, I can't wait. I wonder when that one happens. I don't think I've gotten it already.
Really? Okay.
But it's part of the progression bar of Tri leveling up, I think, right?
Yeah, it is.
Or maybe I have.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
cool.
remember.
Love it. Honorable mention. That's great. Another one that I had is not Ocarina of Time is the Megaton Hammer. There is a hammer also in Wind Waker. The Megaton Hammer is not an item I used a lot in combat, but if you're good with it, it is allegedly as strong as the Master Sword in that game. Like the actual attack damage.
Yeah.
If you actually use it, the thing is, it has to stay balanced. It has a huge wind-up.
Yeah.
And it takes a while for Link to pull it back up because it's so heavy. And there's a hammer in Twilight Princess that works similarly, and there's a hammer in Wind Waker. The hammer in Wind Waker, I'm sure you've seen it already, is so cartoony. It's humongous, and it waves around and stuff like that.
I actually haven't yet.
What?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Maybe not. I think you use it. What's that original isle that the sisters trapped in Wind Waker? The first one where you go.
Yeah, it's just on Dragon
Forbidden
Roost,
Island or something like that, or Forbidden Fortress or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Well, you go back there a couple times, and I definitely used the hammer in one of those.
Okay, yeah, I've only been there once so far.
That's right. You might go back there 2 or 3 more times, or 1 or 2 more times, for a total of 3. Cool. Well, the hammer will come in, and it's kind of funny. It was a stark contrast from the Ocarina of Time hammer. Ocarina of Time hammer is very realistic looking, very like kunk. There's the hammer. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to point out is that the Ocarina of Time's hammer, the shockwave itself that goes out can still deal damage. So if you do it in the middle of a group of like little guys, they all get hit.
Nice.
As a kid, I didn't use it that much because the attack was so slow. I didn't have the strategy.
Yeah.
But I used it a little bit more in our playthrough, just for the fun of it.
Nice.
A few months ago.
Yeah.
One more honorable mention for you. Or
yeah,
you got a
one
few?
more for me. I'll just say one more. So, with Breath of the Wild, I had to mention one of the power-ups, I would say, or like the spirits that you get. You get the little abilities.
Yes.
I know everyone likes Rivali's Gale the most. However, for me, who was not very good at games, and I was new to the Zelda stuff, Mipha's Grace was my favorite.
Mipha's Grace.
Yep. I loved Mipha's Grace. I also just liked it a lot because I loved Mipha as a character, and I liked her song and everything. So Mipha's Grace is a honorable mention for me because when you get knocked down, she just comes and brings you back up, and it's great.
She brings you up, and does she refill your lives all the way?
Yes, she does.
So it doubles your life.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually got Mipha's Grace first because I went to the Zoras first the first time I played Breath. And I was fine with it. I was so happy to have it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why I don't have as much love for Rivali's Gale, I believe is what it's called. Because I think that's where I went last. So I didn't use it as much.
Wow. I went there second, and it does help with traversal quite a bit.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, yeah, we're doing our number ones. I was about to say, I didn't do my number one yet. Is that it for honorable mentions? You got one or two more on there, just real quick?
My other one was just, again, I don't know if it counts, but the Deku Leaf from Wind Waker.
Oh, interesting.
Being able to use that to fly around has been really fun.
Fascinating, interesting. Well, let's get to our final number ones.
Yeah.
I'll do mine first.
Uh-huh.
I skipped over your honorable mention there because my number one top 10 power-up is technically the evolution of the chicken to the Deku Leaf to the sailcloth to the paraglider.
Yeah. Yes.
The Deku Leaf. It's so funny. You said it's honorable mention. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. It's my number one.
No. It was only honorable mention because I was like, I don't know if it counts. But yes, I love it.
Yes.
It's such a great item. It's something that, like you said, it evolves throughout the games and gets to that point where you can just soar in Breath.
Uh-huh.
And you can traverse so far. It's so nice. And then it's also just really pretty. And I like all the memes, too, of Link stopping midair to eat a meal to get his stamina back and then continue flying.
Keep going. With the paraglider in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, totally. The reason I actually originally picked Deku Leaf as my number one because it was the first time in a Zelda game in the series where it actually changed how you'd move through the game and how you move through the levels.
Yeah.
You know, what we know as the paraglider now in Breath of the Wild is you move through Breath of the Wild in a completely different way than you do in any other Zelda game, well, except for these moments. You know, the Deku Leaf, I remember getting it and being like, wait, we can glide and sail, and, Link could barely jump in previous games.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting in Wind Waker. And then I realized as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, I guess the precursor to that was the chickens in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask was like the beginnings of the hints of that, because in the Cuckoo quest in Ocarina of Time, you actually you pick up a chicken and you use them to float over to other parts of the level to get the other cuckoos. And I'm just realizing now that there's also the chickens help you fly. They help you glide in even the Super Nintendo game, but I digress. Anyways, I feel like in the 3D games, started with the chickens. They're just not everywhere. But I can actually move through this level differently if I can't jump places. I can glide through the air. It really was fully realized with the Deku Leaf, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It changed the game for me. Changed what Zelda was for me with that Deku Leaf. Then actually in Skyward Sword, it took a little bit of a step back for me. They had the sailcloth. I think it's called the sailcloth.
Yeah, but you just go straight down.
Yeah, it's really just catching you for falling. There's no traversal. They kind of reinterpreted it. So the real return of the Deku Leaf for me was the paraglider in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And I guess Tears of the Kingdom you have it right from the beginning. But I considered it a power-up because even in Breath of the Wild, even though it happens early on, it's after kind of the prologue, it does change how you move through the game. You move through Breath of the Wild in a way that you don't move through any other Zelda game ever. And so I think that there's actually more to be said for that than people even fully realize.
Yeah, no, I got it last night. I played through the entirety of the Forbidden Woods and the Koroks and all of that last night. And
oh my gosh, you just got it.
Yeah, I just got it and I love it.
You will continue to use it in that game.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because I liked going into the Baba plants and shooting up and then getting to glide around. And then I've used it a few different times by changing the wind to get to different islands
100%.
and grab stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and you can whip it out anytime you want in any level of any dungeon. As long as you jump off the edge, you can make that leaf happen. And so I think I would even argue that the paraglider, and by extension these other things I've all talked about, changed Zelda games as much as Z-targeting changed Zelda games. I'm just going to drop that one down, that hot take. All right, that's my number one.
Yeah, so my number one is also from Wind Waker. However, I think this might be a Wii U exclusive item.
Is it
Wind
the
Waker.
faster sail?
It's the faster sail! It's so much nicer! That is my number one. I never use the normal sail. Get that thing out of here.
Your number one top 10 power-up of all Zelda games is the faster sail.
Yes, because you always have fair winds. You go super fast, and I don't care. I don't care if it's cheating. I don't care if it's not the original experience. It is so much better. I don't want to constantly be changing the winds. I don't want to. Because here's the thing. I am a completionist, and like I'm going around. I want to complete everything on the map first.
Yeah.
So I don't. If I did not have this faster sail, David, I don't think I would make it through Wind Waker because of all the constant back and forth. With the faster sail, I'm like, okay, I'll just like put the sail on, move my thing in the direction, scroll TikTok for a little bit, and I'm there. There we go. I'm there. It's great.
I love it. I'm in full support of this being your number one pick. It does change the game. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
The sail in general is faster on the Wii U version. Even the first version of that sail, you sail quicker. The wind in GameCube, you would put the controller down and like drink and wait. You know what I mean?
Do that. But it doesn't take as long.
It doesn't, yeah. No, but that speedy sail, you get it. Do you go back?
You go to the auction to get it.
You get it in the auction, that's right.
Yeah, you have to. So, thank you to our friends over on Zelda Dungeon. I've been following you rock through. You go to the auction and you have like random chances to get that. They also have like a piece of a heart you can get, treasure charts, all that. And you just keep going back and forth, changing the day to night, seeing if you can get it. Eventually it'll get there and you have to do the whole thing. It's the most expensive item. I think you have to have like a full 500 or whatever to get it. But once you get that thing, it is amazing.
I love it. I'm in support of this choice. All right, here we go. Let's. We got to wrap this episode up. That's awesome. I appreciate the passion there. No joke. What is it called? Swift Sail?
It's either Swift Sail. I just called it the Red Sail.
Yeah. All right. So bottom to top, we've got the Deku Nut. This is a crazy list. I mean, there could be like 9 different versions of these lists, really, quite frankly, with power-ups. There's so many things. And listeners, I'm sure they're thinking of some items that they'd like to include. And again, like I said on a break, you know, you're more than welcome to reach out to us on social.
Yeah, let us know.
But we got the Deku Nut.
Red Mail.
Red Mail. I couldn't read my own handwriting. I was like, Red Mole? What the heck is a Red Mole? The Fire Spell. The... what is this? Oh my gosh, it's so... Statist?
Oh, Stasis Plus.
Stasis. Oh, that's a plus, not a T. My hand. I write like a child. Fierce Deity Mask, Froggy Armor, the Obliterator, the Pegasus Boots, the Paraglider, and the Swift Sail.
I think that's a good list.
Both of our top picks
We're
changed
Wind Waker.
Navigation.
Yeah, navigation. Because I think that's the thing that really stands out to you the most, because you can have items that make you stronger in a game or just do that, but on the other hand, you could also argue, well, I like playing without these things that make you stronger, because then you have to be more crafty or it makes the game harder. With navigation, just something that changes navigation in a game, it makes it so much nicer, so much more friendly. I was going to say family friendly. Just makes it so much friendlier to the player. I love it.
Yeah, I had speaking of navigation, I had Epona on here in a very early version, and then, I think she's a different category of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, cool. That was awesome. All right, Kady, let's get going. We'll see you all on our next episode. The next episode, I'll be meeting with Steven. Ooh. Steven is a YouTube streamer who has never played a Zelda game ever, and I've talked to him a little bit. And he was saying, I've always wanted to try Ocarina of Time, and so I have given him one of my personal original Nintendo 64 controllers with a cord coming out of it.
Awesome.
He's going to, over the next couple months, stream it, or I think the way he usually does it is he drops them as actual YouTube videos. He's going to play the game. It's going to be a little collab, I guess, between AZP and his channel. He's going to play the game, drop the episodes. But in the meantime, he's going to be over here. I'm going to have him on our show so that we can just talk about what it's like, what his expectations might be, if he has any questions about Ocarina of Time. And then, Kady, towards the end of our season, maybe you know this already, I think we've talked about it once, towards the end of our season, once he's done playing, it'll be you, him, and I on an episode, and we'll do one more recap on Ocarina of Time and what it's like, because we'll have 3 different points of view of the game at that point.
I got excited. That sounds really fun. I also was thinking that you were going to say we would all play Triforce Heroes.
Maybe we do.
That'd
Maybe
be
we need
cool.
to.
I don't know.
We haven't done many of the multiplayer games yet. I have all of them now. All 4 Swords Adventures. We got them all. We just need the coordination to find people to do it with.
I played 4 Swords on like the live stream for Zelda Dungeon. I have not played
we got the dates.
Triforce, though.
We got the Zelda Dungeon dates. Masas messaged me.
So exciting.
I can't remember what they are offhand, and maybe I shouldn't say it publicly anyway because I think they could still change.
Yeah.
But I'll share it with you. And one thing he was talking about is they might do, he was mentioning, I don't know if can say this or not, but they're considering, at least me particularly, because I'm not actually, in the context of speedruns, I'm not a good Zelda player, and I really embarrassed myself last season. But they're considering having like hosts do things in between each of the streams, maybe a little bit of interviewing, maybe a little bit of like setting up what the next thing is and stuff like that. And he invited at least me to kind of do that. And I know that you're better actually at playing these games than I am.
Really?
Yeah. Well, as far as like in the context of like we gotta go.
I will say I ranked really highly in the mini game Olympics this last year.
That's right, you
I
did.
think I got like third.
So I think if the universes allow, we'll be on the stream again, and maybe in a slightly different capacity, or also playing games. I mean, it's whatever you want to do and whatever I want to do. I know for me, I felt a lot of stress really not being good at like speed running Link's Awakening. I play these games. That's just how I play. I play them so slow. I'm not even done with Echoes yet. I'm not even done with Tears yet. I'm okay. That's how I like to play my games. I like to play them slow. So in the style of like everyone's watching, get this game done in 5 hours. That was actually kind of stressful, even though I absolutely loved every minute of being in that marathon. Nevertheless, I got the dates, so I'm so excited. Hopefully, you and I will be there again this summer. All right, Kady. I'll see you in 2 episodes where we'll be talking about the evolution of the Kokiri.
But first, David,
Yes?
where can they find you?
Yes, they can. Are we turning into Snape? Are we doing Snape?
Well, I wasn't doing Snape, but now I will.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. People can find me on all the socials at Raptor Paint, and that's really all I need to say at Raptor Paint. You can find the show at Another Zelda Podcast on all the different social media platforms, and our YouTube channel. You can find us as Another Zelda Podcast. We're doing a new thing this season where I'm taking our episodes here and taking little highlights and chopping little things and throwing them up on YouTube as shorts. And I'm also throwing them into Instagram Reels and over there on TikTok as well.
Ooh.
So we take little excerpts from, really honestly what we do is we take little excerpts from our Magical Sword Patreon videos. And I just put little 30-second clips out on the internet for people to see what it's like as we sit here and record. And there's our Magical Sword people right there watching us. And that's that. So you can also find us over, on YouTube and all those kinds of things. We've actually been having some success with those shorts on YouTube. It's been really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
How
find
about
me on Instagram. I recently changed my handle. It is now Kady Stargazing, like the letters KD, because I wanted to start doing Twitch stuff and wanted to come up with a name. So that is my new name on there.
What was it? It used to be Mind of Kady or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so,
cool.
Kady Stargazing.
Love it.
Yeah, and on my website, kadyroberts.com, just K-A-D-Y. Yeah, that's it.
And you may or may not find Kady working at my favorite used video game store on the weekends here in Wicker Park.
Yeah, come say hi.
Oh my god, I can't even
That'd be
believe
great.
it. It's weird. I have I'm getting what is it when you know a celebrity? Fan.
You're like fangirling?
Fangirling a little, I guess. Yeah, because I'm like, wait, you work at that store?
No,
it's so silly.
Great. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a fun store. All right. Cool. Everybody, see you in 2 weeks.
See ya.